This video is supported by Skillshare. Last year, at the beginning of the year, I started things off with a video that talked about all the cool science stories that we had to look forward to in 2018, so I thought, hey, that might be a good idea. Good way to start off this year is talk about all the cool science stories to look forward to in 2019. If you want to check out that video for yourself, you can find it right here. Ironically, there were some things on that list that are also on this list because they didn't quite happen last year like they planned, but it's going to happen this year. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look at the big science stories we're all going to be talking about in 2019. On May 20th of this year, the scientific community, specifically the international metrology community, will be redefining 4 metric units of measurement: the kilogram, the Kelvin, the mole, and the ampere. Ever since we first developed standardized units of measurement, we've been trying to find ways to tie those measurements into fundamental constants of the universe. The meter, for example, went from being a physical thing that you would measure things against to get the length of the meter to the distance that light travels in a vacuum in this much of a second. Now, one of the most difficult to nail down in this way was the kilogram, because up until now, the kilogram was basically measured against a platinum-iridium cylinder that's carried in a vault in France. But in November, scientists voted on a new way to measure the kilogram, one that's based on Planck's constant. It's pretty complicated, but Derek from Veritasium explains it pretty well in his video right here. This new measurement will officially go into effect on May 20th, along with all those others that I mentioned. You may be asking, how will this impact your life? It won't, especially in the US, where the metric system is really more of an urban legend. But it is an important step for the scientific community in their ongoing quest to more accurately understand the universe, so go nerds. The Event Horizon Telescope findings. Somehow I haven't really covered the Event Horizon Telescope on this channel. Shame. 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 But a quick rundown, it's basically a worldwide network of telescopes that's going to work together as one telescope, basically a telescope the size of the Earth, in the effort of imaging an event horizon of a black hole. Now, we do know that black holes exist, but we've never directly seen one. Now, part of this reason is obvious. There's no light that comes out of a black hole, so how the hell do you see something that has no light coming out of it or being reflected off of it? But the other part is that black holes are actually pretty small, especially in respect to the mass. That smallness requires a resolution that no telescopes currently have. In fact, it requires a telescope the size of planet Earth. But the Event Horizon Telescope is a way to get around that. It uses an array of telescopes all around the world to take measurements of Sagittarius A, that's the supermassive black hole in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It uses a process called long baseline interferometry, and the resolution it will give would be the same as being able to spot a fly on the surface of the moon. Now, the telescopes have actually collected all of the data. They did all their imaging last year, but it's so much data that they literally can't even send it online. They have to transport it on servers around the world. There's 27 petabytes of data in total that they've got to go through to create this image. So they're working on all that data right now, and it's expected that sometime this year they're actually going to be able to come out with this image of a black hole. First time in history, really cool. New electric cars. 2018 was a huge year for electric cars. Of course, one of the most notable ones was the Tesla Model 3 that exploded on the scene, but the Model 3 really is just a catalyst for an overall shift that's occurring in the car industry right now. A catalyst that we'll start to see take effect this year. But let's get the Tesla news out of the way first. First of all, Model 3 is actually just going into release in Europe, so our European viewers are going to start to see those on the roads around this year. And the $35,000 model, the long-awaited $35,000 baseline model of the Model 3, is supposed to come out in the first 6 months of 2019 as well. And that's something that I think a lot of the reservation holders were waiting on, so we're going to see a big, huge explosion in sales of the Model 3 when that happens as well. But it's also expected sometime this year that Tesla's going to release the Model Y. Now, this is their crossover version based on the Model 3 platform. It's going to be sort of like a small Model X, but without all the crazy doors and frills and stuff like that. It's also expected to usher in some design improvements like flex circuits that are supposed to drastically cut down the amount of wiring required in these cars. Now, crossovers right now are by far the most popular types of cars in the United States, so many people think that the Model Y is going to be an even bigger deal than the Model 3, especially if they can capitalize on what they've learned in the production of the Model 3, so that their production of the Model Y might not be quite so production hellish. So the Model Y is supposed to be revealed. We're going to see what it looks like this year, but it won't go into production until 2020. Now, a lot of people are speculating that with the Model Y reveal, Elon might pull a one more thing and reveal the Tesla pickup. He's talked quite a bit about the Tesla pickup, about how excited he is about it. But with Rivian releasing their electric pickup this last year, it might incentivize Tesla to kind of push this along a little bit faster and kind of take some of the wind out of their sails. But as much as I love Tesla, what's really got me excited about the coming year is all the non-Tesla EVs that are coming onto the market, all the traditional car makers that are finally kind of going in that direction of EVs, and here are some of those that are going to be coming out. This includes luxury brands like the Audi e-tron, the Mercedes EQC, an update for BMW's i3 with a larger battery, the Jaguar I-Pace, the Volvo XC40, and the Porsche Taycan, which promises not to just match the performance of the Tesla Model S, but will also be capable of accepting a 300 kilowatt charge rate from their ultra-fast 800 volt chargers, which may or may not be a game changer, but it will definitely be a huge step up. But to me, far more important than the luxury, Richie Rich, mucky muck cars that are going to be coming on the road is there's also going to be a slew of affordably priced but high performance EVs coming out, including the Kia e-Niro, the Kia Soul EV, the Hyundai Ioniq, and the Mini Electric. So the number of electric options being offered in 2019 is going to absolutely dwarf 2018, but I don't think that this is officially the year that EVs are going to really take over. I think we'll really start to see the shift happen in 2020 and 2021. This is when companies like Volkswagen are going to introduce a total flood of EVs into the market. It's going to become a lot more mainstream, and in that time, we'll see more of an infrastructure build up around charging that's going to just reduce people's anxieties and just make it more palatable. So not quite this year, but still a pretty big year. But let's round out this list with some of the cool space exploration stories that I know you guys are going to be interested in. The first one has to be the New Horizons flyby of Ultima Thule in the Kuiper Belt. Now this literally happened within hours of the clock turning over to 2019. We do only have like a couple of grainy images right now, but it's already flown by. We know that it survived, and it's going to be releasing images from this for months to come. New Horizons is of course the probe that sent us those amazing pictures of Pluto back in 2015. It's now flying through the Kuiper Belt, which is sort of a belt of asteroids around the outside of the solar system. Ultima Thule was the name given to one of these rocks that was discovered out there by Hubble in 2014. It's about 20 kilometers wide, and New Horizons flew within 3,500 kilometers of it. Now this is a milestone for a few different reasons. For one, this is the furthest object we have ever visited in human history, so that alone is really awesome. But the other really cool thing about it is that these Kuiper Belt objects existed at the beginning of the solar system and got pushed out at the very beginning. They have not gone into the solar system and interacted in any way with, you know, the elements and whatnot that exist in the inner solar system. So looking at these Kuiper Belt objects is a look at the very earliest solar system, completely pristine and uncontaminated by what's going on inside the solar system. So basically Ultima Thule is the most pristine object we've ever studied. Anyway, New Horizons took a ton of data and images as it flew past. It's going to take a while for us to get that from it. The first images are probably going to be kind of grainy. More high-resolution pictures are going to be coming in a little bit later. So we'll get treated throughout this year to images that are going to be the furthest tourist photos ever taken by humanity. Hayabusa 2 from JAXA is something that I covered in a previous video. It is currently in orbit around the asteroid Ryugu. It landed last year a couple of rovers, and this year it's going to land a third rover, and it's going to collect samples from the surface of Ryugu, sort of kiss the asteroid, and then return to Earth. That's expected to happen in June or July of this year. OSIRIS-REx from NASA is another probe that's going to be collecting samples from an asteroid. It actually arrived at Bennu about a month ago on December 3rd, and it's going to be spending 2019 orbiting and collecting data and images from Bennu before doing a sample return mission sometime in 2020. So we can expect a flurry of cool photos from Bennu coming out throughout the year. The Parker Solar Probe, which took off last year for the Sun, will be doing a couple of different flybys this year in April and September. It will be collecting data. We might get some cool groundbreaking information as it does that. It's already done one flyby. It'll be doing 23 over the course of 5 years, but this year is going to be the first two that we're really going to be getting some data from, so who knows, we might get some cool stuff. There's also a slew of moon landings coming this year that are worth following. Last year I covered ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, and their plans to land a lander on the moon called Chandrayaan-2. They expected to launch this last year, but it actually got pushed back to January 31st of this year. This mission will contain an orbiter, a lander, and a small rover that will take measurements of moonquakes as well as take measurements of the atmosphere. And yes, the moon does have a very, very, very tiny atmosphere on it. But before that, the Chinese National Space Administration is going to be landing Chang'e 4, which actually launched in December of this last year, and is currently in orbit around the moon. The cool thing about Chang'e 4 is it's actually going to be landing on the far side of the moon, which has actually never been done before. This is a total first, not just for China, but for the whole world. And what they're going to do is they're going to use that as a base to study radio astronomy, which is kind of a brilliant idea because being on the far side of the moon, it's going to be shielded from all the radio noise from Earth. And it's happening soon, like It may be happening right now as I say this. The last thing that I read was that it's, kind of on its way. It's like descending down to land, but we don't have confirmation yet that it landed. So if there is some, I'll have to put a link somewhere. I'm kind of in the dark here. It's like I'm on the far side of the moon. Pretty cool. We're only a couple of days into January, and there's already like 2 really cool things that have happened this year. Also this year, an Israeli team plans to land something on the moon. It's a nonprofit group called Space.il that was actually part of the Lunar X Prize that Google had created. Google actually kind of dropped the whole program, but these guys decided to keep going on with it. It's a collaboration with the Israeli Space Agency. They plan to land a lander called Bereshit, which is actually a very light lander at only about 1,300 pounds. Including fuel. So it's going to land on the moon, it's going to do a few science experiments, it's only going to be operational for a couple of days, but still a huge thing for a private company. And last but not least, let's talk about SpaceX. You saw this coming. SpaceX plans to start doing Hopper tests this year with their Starship prototype. Starship is the new name for BFR. These are going to be similar to the Grasshopper tests that were done before Falcon 9 became fully operational, just to test its ability to go up and, more importantly, to come down without going boom. This prototype Starship, some call it Starhopper, is expected to start doing these tests as early as March or April of this year down at their South Texas complex in Boca Chica. And there have already been some spy pictures being taken of the prototype being built. They're just building it outside. They're not really being all that secretive about it, so we're going to get to see this thing as it happens, which is kind of cool. There's also expected to be a design update this year on the Starship and the Super Heavy. That's the name of the booster that they've called it. The last we've heard is that they're actually going to be doing a stainless steel polished mirror finish on this thing instead of the white carbon fiber design that they had before. And anybody who follows this knows that the design has gone through multiple iterations. It seems to change every single year. We'll see how close they are to the final design, but there's actually been some mock-ups being done on what it would look like as that polished stainless steel finish kind of thing. It's also worth mentioning that these tests are going to be the first ones with their new Raptor engine. They've been developing this for a long time. It's supposed to be a huge step up from their Merlin engines. Cool thing about the Raptor engine is it actually works off of methane. These are designed so that they would be able to be fueled on Mars. So it'll be really cool to see those finally flying. But perhaps none of these stories come anywhere close to the news that the Dragon 2 capsule is going to be starting to take its first steps into space. This is finally a return in the United States to manned spaceflight. The first launch of the Crew Dragon is a demo mission that is expected to happen on the day this video comes out. So it could be happening right now. Why are you still watching this? After that, the Crew Dragon is planned to have an in-flight abort test in May, and after that, if everything goes to plan, the first manned missions will go up in June of this year. At the same time, the Boeing Starliner capsule is expected to see space for the first time with a demo mission in March, followed by a crewed mission in August of this year. The hugeness of this cannot be overstated. After 8 years of being grounded, the United States is finally back in the business of putting men up into space. That is exciting as hell. That alone is enough to get excited about what's going on this year, but of course there's all the other things I just talked about, but even those are just the tip of the iceberg. Science is progressing faster than we could ever imagine possible. So is there anything that's coming up that you're excited about? Anything I didn't cover on here? Let's talk about that in the comments below. Also, just a quick plug if you want to keep up with the latest news on science stuff that's going on this year, especially in space and EVs and all that kind of stuff, you can follow the podcast that I do with Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, and Ben Sullins of Teslanomics. It's called Our Ludicrous Future. Every single week we get together and we talk about all the cool science stuff that's going on. So if you want to keep up to date on that, we have a podcast you can listen to at any of the places you listen to podcasts, or there is also a YouTube channel that you can check out right here. I invite you to go do so. See, I'm not all doom and gloom on this channel. There's a lot of cool things to look forward to. And one way to make the new year better is to find some way to improve yourself. That's what all our New Year's resolutions are all about. And if you want to get better at a skill, the best place to do that, in my opinion, is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 20,000 classes and pretty much anything you could possibly want to learn, from technology to business to accounting, which I had to learn a lot about recently. And a great place to start if you really want to kick some butt this year is the Productivity Essentials course by Thomas Frank. Thomas is a YouTuber that teaches all about time management and self-improvement, and he has a class exclusively on Skillshare that reveals tricks and secrets he's never revealed anywhere else. It's a great place to get your life in order. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality videos on must-know topics so you can improve your skills, open new opportunities, and do the work you love. And viewers of this channel get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium if you sign up at the link down in the description below. Millions of people are using Skillshare every day to improve their lives, so you might want to get caught up. Sign up down at the link below. 2 months free. I know you'll enjoy it. Big thanks to Skillshare for supporting this video, and to all the Patreon supporters, my answer files on Patreon that help keep the lights on around here and are building an awesome community. I have a lot of people I need to shout out real quick. A lot of people signed up over the holidays, and I really appreciate it. Let me murder your names real quick, because that's how I do things. Graham Nicole, Mark Carpenter, Rick Karg, Maro Firfari, Donna Salyer, Phil Tancredi, Stephanie Antonelli, Josh Forster, Susan Graves, John Regal, Diego Lambieda, Kevin Wood, Paul Jones, Christian Bergman, Curtis Lindsay, Malte Jesperson, Veronica Case Zebi, Phil Caithness, Ratfeast, Robin Engelberg, Jeff Windsor, Angel Vivero, Royal Vermont, Dennis Rittenauer, Karina Jimenez Ribeiro, Joseph Fraser, Kristen Keys, Tyler Walsh, and Henri Vaudon. Henri. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to join them, get access to stuff that other people don't get to have, early access to videos, behind the scenes type stuff, you can go to patreon.com/answerswithjoe. Please like and share this video if you liked it, and if this is your first time here, maybe check out this video. Google thinks you'll like that one. If you like that one, there's all kinds of videos on the little sidebar over here that you can check out, and if you like those, please do hit subscribe, because I do come back with videos like this every Monday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful and eye-opening 2019, and I'll see you next time. Love you guys. Take care.